Hi everyone, I'm Nancy Damiano with a lesson for your stocking stuffer class today on origami hearts. Now I decided to make origami hearts with a little bit of kick. So they're the traditional folded hearts, and then I went a little step further and made them more custom to scrapbooking by making them pockets and adding a lot of different embellishments, our family initial, the number 25 to represent the number of days, and I was able to use them to tuck little things in, and I thought it was just like a sweet little way to add a handmade touch to my December album. And I'll show you how I created these. It's pretty simple actually, not as complicated as it looks. We're gonna make this it's a simple heart with a little opening in the center, and this is where I like to tuck the flags and different little things in there. So you start out with a square piece of paper. You can go from as little as 2 by 2 all the way up to a 12 by 12. It's just going to give you a bigger and bigger heart. This is a 6 by 6 square. I believe this one was a little bit smaller, maybe 5 by 5. So the smaller you go, the more difficult it gets, just so you know. And I would use a very thin paper to start out with until you get your folds down. So start out by folding it in half and then folding it in half again. And there's lots of different ways on how to achieve this look. I just stuck to the simplest one that I found. So then you've made a nice cross, and I also like to flip it into, almost looks like a kite with a big X in the center. So that's how you're gonna work with it. And we're gonna take this top corner and go to the center. You know what, I'm gonna place this blue paper that I happen to have here, just so you can see the paper better, I think. Okay, so we're gonna go from this corner to the center. You can use a bone folder to make your folds a little more defined, but I don't. Just give it a more handmade look, and I kind of like that. I'm not looking for perfection here. Okay, so next you want to bring this corner all the way to the top. So here we only did halfway, and here we're going to go all the way to the top. Okay, so you should end up with something that looks like this. And then we're going to take this corner and meet this little tip right here. And fold. Okay? And we're going to do the exact same thing to the other side. Like that. And then you can start to see how it's starting to form a heart. Okay, so now we just need to tuck these ends and these ends in to create a more rounded look. So you can take a ruler and measure, say I went 3.5 inches or probably a little bit less than that, and do the exact same on the other side if you want your heart to come out perfect. I'm gonna wing it because that's kind of how I scrapbook too. And then we want to round off these top corners. Now this one's pretty easy because you just have to meet this tip to this crease. And then you know that those two at least are even. Okay, and then we get a heart like that with our pocket in the center. And then I'll show you kind of the things that I did. I did stick flags in them. And probably I would put a little flare on it and maybe stamp something on that flag, and there you go. You have one origami heart embellishment that's handmade and custom. I'll show you the second fold. The second fold is a little more complicated, but not by much. So this one creates a full pocket like this. This was created with a 12 by 12 piece of paper. And it gives you this space. It also has an upper pocket as well. I like the idea of sticking letter stickers in here, or thickers. I think that would look super cool, like a marquee kind of look, even though I didn't do that on my page, but it's just an idea. So let's create this one. I'm gonna create it out of vellum. I'm actually gonna use this on one of my pages. This is 6 by 12. So to do this pocket, you want something that's in a rectangular shape. It should be half the width of the length. So 5 by 10 would work, 4 by 8 would work, all the way to 2 by 4. Although I don't think I would try to do them that small, but you can if you want to. Okay, so to create this one, we're gonna place it horizontally, and we're gonna fold to the top. I hope that's even. And then fold it over this way, which is very similar to the heart that we just made. Vellum is a little bit trickier than you would think. But I like that it's going to be sort of translucent, so. Okay, there we go. Okay, then we're going to open it back up, and you're going to have the open end to the top. And then we're going to take this corner and fold it up. So basically we're just taking this piece and meeting this center line that we created, like that. See? And then we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Okay, and here's where the difference is. First of all, we're going to use this side, and we're going to fold it differently on the top so that this ends up being the front. So at this point you want to flip it over, and now I use tape to keep this together because it just makes it easier for me to work with. In traditional origami, no tape, no scissors, from what I've read, but I'm not an expert origami person. I'm a scrapbooker, so tape it is. Okay, so now I've got the pocket facing downward, and I'm going to do a fold up here. I'm going to go about that much. That's probably a ½ inch. This you can play around with, so there's really no wrong way to do this fold. Yeah, I can take a look at the heart and see that this is going to be the top of my heart. Actually, I folded it the wrong way. Huh. Pretty easy to fix your mistakes though with this stuff. We actually want the fold to be in the front. So you see here we have that sort of slit. And then the only important part is to make sure that this side is totally even with this side, or you'll have a lopsided heart. I think I would use a bone folder with the vellum. It seems to be a lot stiffer than the pattern paper that I just used. Okay, so now you see the front of the heart. Let me turn it around so you can see it well there with our pocket forming. And so now we just need to make a couple of folds here so that it can turn into a heart. So we're going to start with this corner here. And again, you could measure and then measure exactly, but for the sake of the video and for the sake of really, I'm not that much of a perfectionist, so just go with it. The center ones right here, these two, you're going to fold down the same way. These, I do make sure they meet. So in other words, see how this one's folded right down to here? Let me see if I can get more of this blue paper so you can see. I will make sure that this one folds down to that exact spot there. And I'm not afraid to use the tape so that these stay down. Oops. I don't think you'll be able to see the tape very much from the other side, and the pocket is going to get filled with embellishments anyway, so it should be fine. Nope, you can barely see it. You can see some of the folds, but that adds to the handmade look of it. Now you can do lots of things. You could put another heart in it like that. That's pretty super cute. Like that. Or I had some other things that I was going to use. I was going to use some of the cards. I go like that. And I would use some of that. And I would use some wood in here. And maybe a letter sticker. And so you can see that there's lots of different things. I really like this little heart in here. There's a lot of different things that the heart within the heart. That's cute. Okay, so you can see that there's a lot of different options with this to create little custom pockets. I will let you take a look at my entire spread. So this is the left side, and then my origami side on the other side. This is where all my embellishments are. I need to go back and glue this down, I guess. Yep. Okay, I kept most of my hearts white. I wanted it a very white on white kind of look. I have some of these with the simple fold, and I have the flare. On this one I did a little bit of stamping and I made it into a tag. This is another one of the pockets. I did add our initials, and I added the date. Even though I don't do this project on a day-to-day basis, I just can't make that kind of commitment. So I do it when I just want to capture something. I'm not gonna stick to certain dates. I usually do it actually by week. So this is the week of the 9th through the 12th, so that's why you see those 2 dates on there. And then on my left side, I kept it pretty simple. This one really centers around gifts, things that are on our wish lists. My son with the Toys R Us catalog making a list. I put that tone on tone there. And then a family picture. And then here I have what Mom wants, what Nico wants, and Dad's sad little list with 2 whole things on it. So that's it. That represents our family this week. I hope this helps you out the next time you're looking to add a handmade touch and a little bit of origami to your December album. Thanks for joining.